Welcome back, Wellness Warriors, to the TransZen Explorer channel. I'm Caitlin Thompson. Now, this video is for the ladies out there, and many of us have opted for or are considering getting a copper IUD. Copper IUD is a non-hormonal and very reliable form of birth control. However, there are some serious side effects and drawbacks for many women. In this video, I'm going to share with you one simple, easy trick that you absolutely should be doing if you have a copper IUD or are about to get a copper IUD. This simple and easy trick will eliminate most side effects associated with having the copper IUD, as well as prevent more serious health withdrawals from the long-term use of a copper IUD. The copper IUD has grown in popularity over the last several years as a reliable form of birth control. It's a T-shaped device that is implanted into the woman's uterus to prevent pregnancy, and it sheds copper ions which are toxic to sperm, which immobilizes them and stops them from going up and reaching the egg to fertilize it. It also prompts a mild immune response in the woman's uterus, causing her to create excess amounts of thick cervical mucus, which acts as a barrier to the sperm. The copper IUD works in part by inducing an inflammatory process in the woman's uterus to increase the cervical mucus production. This on its own can be problematic for women that already have chronic systemic inflammation in their bodies, and also puts some women at an increased risk of infection. After implantation, the IUD can get rejected by the body, or it can actually get embedded in a woman's uterus. Women with IUDs are also at increased risk of infection due to the increased inflammation in the area. Some studies suggest that having a copper IUD long-term can result in small amounts of non-bioavailable forms of copper being released into the body and stored in tissues. Now, copper is what makes the sperm immobilized so that it can prevent pregnancy, and copper is an essential nutrient that is important for whole body health. However, the version of copper that is in the copper IUD is non-bioavailable and can actually prevent your body from absorbing bioavailable healthy forms of copper. This can result in increased and excess amounts of copper in the tissues and the body, and can lead to a number of serious health drawbacks. High copper levels increase estrogen dominance, and estrogen also promotes the increase of copper. This ends up being a vicious cycle that can escalate and move towards progressive hormonal and mineral dysfunction. Excess copper can also be stored in the liver, which will inhibit metabolism and detoxification pathways. During pregnancy, a woman's copper levels naturally rise, and after pregnancy, if she is not able to detox this copper properly, she's susceptible to experiencing postpartum depression. Elevated copper levels are actually associated with a number of severe illnesses, especially mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, fatigue, hypothyroidism, and other chronic conditions. Elevated copper has even been found to be associated with criminals who have committed violent crimes and patients who are in psych wards. This was work that was done by Dr. Pfeiffer and Dr. William Walsh, who studied the blood nutrient chemistry of violent and psychotic criminals. Okay, so maybe I've scared you a little bit now, but don't worry, I have some good news. Now, in the body, copper and zinc are supposed to be balanced in a very specific ratio in order to control homeostasis. Now, of course, there's very complex interactions happening with copper and other minerals and nutrients as well, but for simplicity's sake, we're just gonna focus on zinc. Many women with the copper IUD end up developing zinc deficiencies as a result of elevated levels of copper. Now, if you have elevated levels of copper, you have to increase the levels of zinc to maintain homeostasis and keep them balanced. If one gets too high, the other can get too low, and vice versa. So zinc is super fundamental for a number of different processes, including neurotransmitter synthesis, the immune system, and hormonal health. So why am I telling you this, you may wonder? Zinc acts as a copper antagonist and blocks the absorption of excess copper in the intestine. It also mobilizes copper from tissues and supports copper detoxification in adjunct with other nutrients and binding agents. Now, if you have a copper IUD, you absolutely need to be taking zinc in order to keep your copper levels in check and encourage detoxification. This is especially important to do the week before you start your period because this is the point in your hormonal cycle when zinc levels tend to drop the most and is likely a big reason why we're experiencing PMS issues during this week. Take zinc. It's literally that simple. Now, if you have severe copper toxicity, you'll definitely want to confide in a healthcare practitioner that is trained in how to support you in the detoxification process and will likely require a multi-nutrient and chelation binding approach. But for mild side effects and for prevention of side effects, just taking a zinc supplement is a great start. This simple, easy intervention will spare you from suffering from PMS, depression, cramps, anxiety, hypothyroidism, and more. Now, I recommend taking 30 milligrams a day of zinc in the form of zinc picolinate. Now, you don't want to take more than this unless you are under the care of a health practitioner. The reason is, if you take too much zinc, you can actually detox from copper too fast and overburden your body. This will actually cause the mobilization of copper into the bloodstream and in circulation. And if you're not able to detoxify it quick enough, then it can end up causing copper to settle and distribute in other organs and cause more damage. For a more advanced approach in treating excess copper toxicity associated with a copper IUD, most people will need chelating agents and other nutrients to help bind the copper out of the body. This can include things like chromium, magnesium, taurine, or glutathione. If you need more serious copper detoxification, I highly recommend that you seek the care of a qualified health practitioner that's familiar with this process. Now, I personally have had the copper IUD for over 5 years, and I started to develop some weird symptoms a couple of years in that were consistent with the copper overload. And I started experimenting with different things to alleviate the symptoms. I was having really severe PMS, like deep, hopeless depression for about a week before I would start my period. And I was also having really bad insomnia and pain in my body. And nothing would help. No supplement, no activity, no amount of rest, no amount of cannabis. Nothing was really making a dent in it. And then I started experimenting with taking zinc. I started taking zinc daily and especially would take it right before I would start my period in that week where I would normally experience the PMS symptoms. And lo and behold, my symptoms virtually went away. Now I don't have any of those severe PMS issues that I was having before, and I had never had them before in my entire life. So they kind of came spontaneously. And I swear the zinc completely eliminated them. And now I have really reasonable, comfortable cycles. So if you're having these severe side effects or hormonal mood swings around the time of your period or the week before you consider just yanking out your IUD, I would highly recommend that you try this really simple, easy trick of just taking a high quality zinc supplement. It could change your life and it could actually make it so that the benefits of the IUD outweigh the side effects and the discomforts, making it totally viable for you as a birth control option. So if you want to give zinc supplement a try, I have a recommended brand that is in the description below. There's a link. It is an affiliate link, so I get a little kickback if you decide to buy through that link. But any zinc picolinate supplement is generally what I recommend, and I really encourage you guys to give it a try because it's so simple, it's so easy, and it can make such a substantial difference in your quality of life. So if you're interested in hearing my copper IUD experience, I made a personal story video that I talk about what it's been like from the time of insertion, fast forward 5.5 years to now having the copper IUD. Hopefully that can guide you if you're trying to make a decision about getting the copper IUD or about keeping the copper IUD if you're experiencing issues with it. So check out that video in the link above, and hopefully that can help give you some insight in at least what my experience has been. And if you're like me and every other woman that I know, sometimes you might need a little bit extra mood support, especially when our hormones are getting a little crazy at certain times of our moon cycle. So if you're seeking a mood support solutions, check out TransZen.com. We have a couple of products that are scientifically formulated in order to promote balance of brain chemistry and emotional resilience. Sometimes you just need a little extra help to stay centered and balanced when the world is swirling around you crazy or your hormones are doing crazy things to the stories that we tell ourselves. So check out our products. There's a link below in the description. You can get 20% off if you feel inspired to try it. And if you dug this video, please subscribe to the channel so that I can continue to share my amazing health and happiness hacks with all of you guys so you can be empowered to be the best versions of yourselves. Smile on, my warriors. I'll catch you next time. I love you all. Mwah.